Hello and welcome to the Inspirational Leader Series, a collection of short interviews with sharp, impactful people that I know and respect because the business world needs more leaders like them. And my name is Teresa Brazen. I'm a leadership and executive coach that helps design leaders and leadership teams maximize their impact and elevate the stature of design in their organizations. And today I am very, very excited to have a conversation with Judy Wert, who is an executive recruiter and co-founder of one of the design community's most trusted search firms, Wert&Co. And she is, as you will see, the kind of person that you might find yourself sharing a lot of who you are with, in part because she's a really warm person and she's a really skilled listener, but also because she can offer really valuable perspective that's informed by over 27 years of working with leadership of innovative companies. So a wealth of experience. I have been so excited to connect with you, Judy, and to talk about leadership and your perspective on it. So thank you for joining me.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, I told you this before, but I'm particularly excited about this conversation because I think you're different from a lot of the other people that I've interviewed in that you have a very unique perspective on leadership because you have worked with so many leaders in so many organizations and seen their careers evolve over time. And so, the first thing I would love to know is what is a leadership quality that you have grown to appreciate through your journey in recruiting and meeting and knowing all these leaders?
Anybody who knows me knows that I love the world of gardens, and that I feel like you can learn so much about leadership as a master of a garden. And what I mean by that is, and I'll speak metaphorically to start, you know where to weed. You know which flowers will bloom. You can spot orphans that stand on their own, the tulip that that blooms by itself. You know where to water and when to water. You know what needs fertilization. You know what grows in what conditions. You can weather the thunderstorms. And that's a real big one. You know what needs less attention, and you know how to cultivate growth. I feel like leadership, it's an art. To practice the artistry of leadership takes time, and I've come to really appreciate it comes in many different forms. There's so many different kinds of leaders. You have the optimistic leader, when times are tough. You have growth leaders who can work up, sideways, down. You have catalyst leadership, where they know how to bring out the best in people. You have operational leadership and team leadership, and you have visionary leadership. They lead through vision. So there are all these different kinds of leaders that I've come to learn about and learn from. There's the softer skills of leadership. Let's start with what I think is really important. The ego is the enemy. Get rid of the ego when you're leading. Moral and kind leadership, doing the right thing, someone who really knows what it means to be real and to be authentic. I've come to very much appreciate leaders that lead through humor and joy, because I think the world is a tough place sometimes, and a little bit of humor has such impact for people. I've come to appreciate leadership where they know how to celebrate other people. I think of a client recently that celebrated publicly that she was leaving the company. And I thought that was so beautiful that he could applaud and embrace her decision to grow elsewhere, but still be a part of the family. And I think just being able to detach oneself from the outcome and really focus on serving others, sort of bringing a truly giving spirit. I've also come to appreciate not to be standing alone on your principles. I recently had an experience where they just stood on the principle and made a decision based on principle alone. And I think they really missed out on the humanity of the decision. And that it wasn't about a spreadsheet, it wasn't about a principle, standing firm. I think they missed that humanity piece. So humanity and kindness, like, trump all. I really believe that those things matter. Personally, I sit in front of a little sticky that sits on my desk every single day, and these are my own learning opportunities. And the sticky, it's sitting right here. It says, loosely held with strong beliefs. Be able to say, oh, well, we will learn from this. And disagree, commit, support, and engage. And I do feel like these are things that guide me every day, so that I can be flexible. I can bring a learning mindset, and I can disagree and still engage. But let's talk about a few real people that I've come across over my years that have firsthand taught me about what good leadership is in real time. So I have a client named Catherine. She leads one of the largest design organizations in the world. She's an amazingly practical leader, but with humanity. She brings vision, but she's still down to earth. She's amazing at framing context of what the challenge might be at hand. She's brilliant at scale and complexity. She knows how to navigate tricky prey in the corporate world, and she knows how to diagnose where the knots are in real time. She's resilient and perseverant. My phone is ringing. There we go. And she understands patterns of culture, and she can pattern map and be able to employ those lessons in various situations. So that's one leader. Another leader that I was really honored to represent was a woman named General Ann Dunwoody. She was a former commanding general of one of the Army's largest commands. She retired now, but she was the first woman in U.S. military history to achieve a 4-star officer rank. She led divisions home and abroad, and she commanded at every level and supported the largest deployment of U.S. forces since World War II. A few years ago, we were invited to work on a board search with Matt Mullenweg, who's the founder of Automatic. And we brought her in because she knew and understood how to lead a global tribe of leaders. And given that this was a distributed workforce, long before COVID, they were one of the first distributed workforces. And her talent was really as a logistician. Is that how you say it? Logistician, yes.
Yeah.
Her empathy in dealing with soldiers, helping them rise through the ranks. The fact that Anne chose to join the board really spoke to her ability to rise above what she didn't know. And, she had this real kind of learning spirit. She knew nothing about the world of technology, but she joined to develop her own leadership in growing and contributing to an organization that she knew very little about. You might actually enjoy her book. It's called A Higher Standard: Leadership Strategies from America's First Female 4-Star General. Brilliant lady. And I have a client who I've known since she was practically out of school. She now leads a very large design organization in the tech industry, Audrey. Audrey embodies a talented, soulful DNA. She's a giver. She is kind of melodious in her style. She is, and very purpose-driven. She brings an amazing amount of empathy. She's an awesome listener. She brings a spirit of positivity in all of her conversations. She's self-effacing, which I love about her. She's modest and she's humble. And she has an ability to lead without an authoritative voice. Like, she just is real and there and present with her people. And her team loves her and adores her. And her loyalty to the people above her, her colleagues, her stakeholders, and her team, her loyalty is just remarkable, even through incredibly tough times. And then I think about someone that maybe we all know, Ted Lasso. Have you watched Ted Lasso?
I haven't. My husband has talked about that show, but I haven't. So you'll have to.
Ted Lasso is an amazing character. The show is hilarious, and it really exemplifies the growth challenges and joys of life. He happens to be an Enneagram type 7, the enthusiast. So his enthusiastic leadership style is it's just joyful to watch. He's hilarious. He's upbeat. He's funny. He inspires his team. His optimism is truly authentic. And we watch him over time in the show become a healthier person. There's a scene where he just kind of breaks down and says, "Am I a mess? Am I a mess?" And I loved it because this honesty was so refreshing, that he could really take a look at himself, and in a kind of hilarious way, but in a very real way, he knew that he needed to improve. So that's a show you have to watch, Teresa, as a coach.
Yeah, I know. It's on the list.
He's a beloved character.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to talk personally about another person that's very important in my life, and that's my husband and my business partner. We've been in business for over, 28 years. We've been married 38 years. We've known each other since we were 11. And he is a very thoughtful, quiet leader, and a true individualist. He brings vision through quiet listening. His sense of time is not about tomorrow or in an hour. Patience is what he lives by, and his sense of time is really over a very long duration. So trusting of time is something that he brings to all the conversations at Wert&Co. He pushes with a gentle touch, and he compels people to think. He's a challenger, but in a very, very gentle way. And if you listen carefully, because he is quiet and soft-spoken, he has so much wisdom. And I think all of our team wants to hear what Jeff has to say, but he is the quietest member in the room. So all of these different qualities make up for all different kinds of leaders. And I think there's a lot to be learned from the optimist, from the quiet soul, from the commander-in-chief. They all play a part in profiles of leadership.
I love, there's so much in there that's so much richness. You started with this metaphor of the garden, and leadership is kind of like the art of tending to the garden and growing the garden and thinking strategically about what should be in the garden and pulling the weeds out of the garden. And in there is that sort of high level zoom perspective of the garden as a whole too. And leadership as an art and a craft, which I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think leaders who come with that perspective tend to be more effective. And the thing I really appreciate about the variety of, let's call them gardeners, leaders, the examples that you gave, is that they are a variety, and they're an example of the range of leadership styles that people can embody. Which there's something lovely about that, because I think it gives permission for people to figure out what their authentic leadership style is, and that there's space for it in the world, because you've seen many examples of many different kinds of leaders who all sound like very effective leaders too.
They are, and they all stand with a different posture, and they surround themselves by different kinds of people. And yeah, I actually think there's a lot to learn about life, about leadership from a garden. I personally probably have taken to the garden for that reason. And I think also a beautiful garden doesn't happen overnight. As a gardener myself, I've had to wait years for something to bloom in a way that I envisioned. And I think it's the same thing in leading teams and leading people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also talked about just some qualities that it sounded like really resonate for you, or that you've seen be effective. There's this like humanity piece. You used words like empathy, and people being very loyal to some of the people that you gave as examples, and also this idea of like loosely held and flexibility and adaptability. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. Really good stuff. What a gift that you've been able to meet so many different kinds of leaders and see into their worlds, and see, what works and what doesn't. Which leads me to my second question, which is, given that you have worked with such a breadth of leaders and at different stages of career, what do you wish that more leaders knew earlier in their career?
Oh my gosh, there's so much there, and you can't force learning, right? That takes time. But I can look back, even as a leader myself, don't get caught up in your own narrative. I think that's number one. If you get caught up in your own narrative, you're going to miss so much learning opportunity. And it doesn't matter how much you're worth on paper. It doesn't matter what your compensation package is, what your spreadsheet looks like. It doesn't matter at the end of the day when it comes to being a true leader. You will earn it. It'll come to you, but don't go after it from the get-go, because you're going to miss opportunities. Don't anchor on the shiny, moving to the top too quickly. Again, that's going to happen. When I started Wert&Co, I was just in a tiny desk at an architecture firm. I had no idea. I didn't have a business plan. I went with my heart and my craft and my intuition and my care for people. And, fast forward 28 years later, Wert&Co is standing strong on who we are and what we believe in and what we care about and what we do. And if I had, and I will say, and back in 95, our tagline was where design was integral to business success. So I did have a vision, but that was my business plan. And I would say we're probably true to that, 28 years later. Don't get caught up in the pursuit of success, because I think you're bound to be disappointed. And doing right versus being right, I think, is also something that people need to try to remember.
What do you mean by that?
If you want to be right, you may not even be doing right, because you're not listening to everybody around you, the messages that are coming through. You're just so about being right and being listened to versus listening to other people and then knowing what is right.
Mm-hmm.
I think also risking your heart, knowing when to listen to your heart and when to risk your heart, like being more vulnerable, sharing your vulnerability. I think people appreciate vulnerability, and I
Mm-hmm.
think to practice that on a daily basis is really important. And understanding that the tiniest of acts, the smallest of acts, have huge impact. So listen to what you say, listen to your language. Words matter. I
Mm-hmm.
myself, just the other day, found myself in a tricky situation where I really did use, I didn't use the right words. And I think it was taken out of context. And I shared my vulnerability and we got through that moment together. So I think being able to do that and practice that is really important. Reveal yourself in authentic conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I think things take time, and I'm a believer in time. I've learned that also over the years. Every mistake you make, every path you take, every person that you've met, these all lead to decision. These all lead you to making better decisions and being a better leader. And you have to go through that. I've come to appreciate the chapters of challenges, and that challenges are not separate from your life as a person and as a leader. These are growing moments and growing opportunities. If you get fired, that's an opportunity. If you didn't get along with your boss, that's an opportunity. If you have strife with some of your colleagues, that's an opportunity. All of these are opportunities to learn. And I think you have to know that when you embark on your career, you're going to have weeds and
Mm-hmm.
blossoms. You're going to have thunderstorms. You're going to have sunny days. And all this is going to, seasons take time, right? So it's back to that original metaphor. I also think I was talking to my colleague Stacy the other day, and we were talking about pivoting because both she and I were designers by trade. I was a graphic designer. She was a product design leader, founding designer of early stage startup. And we talked about pivoting, that knowing pivoting is also okay. Taking a harder path, taking the path that you didn't expect yourself to take can lead to amazing opportunities. And you can't rush that. It has to come through just
Mm-hmm.
experience and living each day in a way that is authentic. Especially with these times right now that we're all going through, the market is in a unique place. There's a lot of challenges that many people are facing. And I think probably the most important lesson for leaders is reinvention happens every
Mm-hmm.
day. And forced reflection, which is what I call being laid off sometimes, is forced reflection, it's an
Yeah.
amazing opportunity. I've seen people talk about it in the most recent of days, just like they are forced to think about what they want to do, why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they wouldn't have had that chance to do that had they not been let go from their job. So I think being able to pivot and being able to bring a spirit of reinvention is really matter. It really matters. And detours
Mm-hmm.
can be amazing. Detours, forced or chosen, can be amazing opportunities. Um, Life humbles you, and the world's always going to be moving and it's always going to be changing. So be ready to pivot, be ready to turn left, be ready to turn right, be ready to take a break. Yeah.
I was going to say that there's this feeling that I'm really appreciating as you're talking around this of like, it feels sort of like, take a breath, relax. This is a journey. It's going to have different chapters. Some of those will feel like challenges. Those challenges can be opportunities. Do it for the art and the craft and the goodness of leadership, not, striving for the golden shiny or the promotion or the whatever. And like, it will be okay ultimately. I think this is like feeling, which I think is a really nice breath of fresh air, because when we're in the mix and the churn of our organizations and market forces and speed of things to market, or something was launched and didn't go well, or there's people are leaving, or there's layoffs, or it can be very easy to take it all really seriously and lose perspective. And
Agility,
I think,
being agile in the moment, being agile for the unforeseen. I mean, every day we have unexpected coming our way, and you need to be able to pivot. You need to be able to bring kindness. You need to be able to laugh at yourself. Listen, I'm not saying this is easy. I practice this every day myself, and I have surrounded myself by people who will challenge me and make me a better person and a better leader. And I think bringing all of that to the table will make you a better leader if you're paying attention on a regular basis. Daily notes sometimes helps that. Like, what happened today? What do I want to learn from this tough conversation that I had? What do I want to learn from this person who's sitting quietly in the back room that has so much to say? What do I want to learn from my mentors? Like, this is leadership is about learning. It's about curiosity. It's putting a stake in the ground and owning your journey, and that it's not going to be a straight line ever. It's the other thing, people who know me well besides gardens, is that I have a love of children's books. And I just think there's so much wisdom in his book. I've talked in the past on other podcasts about Harold and the Purple Crayon and drawing your journey, and that it's squiggly. It's never a straight line. But there is a book, which I'm sure you've heard of, called The Little Prince. And there's a quote that I also keep on my desktop, which reminds me of what I need to learn and what I think other people need to learn. And it goes like this, and I'm going to read it because I don't have it memorized. Here's my secret, a very simple secret. It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. And I think it's really beautiful, because what is invisible, there's hopefully will become visible to you over time, but it may be invisible to you in the moment. And so take every day as an opportunity to learn. It will make you a better leader. And the best leaders have that learning mindset.
Learning, and the implication there, which you used this word before, is reflection, that you're not just moving through the process, but you're reflecting as you go.
Yeah.
Oh, and The Little Prince. I think this is a great place to end. We should end with The Little Prince quote. It's perfect.
All right. Go read the book. Read it to your children. Read it to yourself. Like, it's a beautiful story. And so lessons from today: read The Little Prince. Go watch Ted Lasso. And next time you walk in a garden, think about the garden as a group of leaders all together in harmony.
And leadership as a garden too. Beautiful.
Yeah. And you can check out my Instagram if you want, because you'll see that I'm just one big lover of metaphors. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for making time to chat and to share some beautiful metaphors and some perspective on all the different kinds of leadership that the world needs and can be expressed. And
Teresa, thank you. And
I'm
I'm sure you employ a lot of this in your own work, and which is why I think people appreciate you as a coach to leaders.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy. And for those of you who are watching or reading or listening, you can find even more interviews like this one with other really interesting people where we're talking about leadership on my website, which is teresabrazen.com. And that's it for now. Thank you, Judy. It's lovely, lovely to spend time with you.
See you soon.